So the choice of man to reject God's life, God cannot force himself. If he forces himself, then you are not a free moral agent. God will honor your choice. So when you say, I don't want you, God will withdraw. The withdrawal of God's presence from that man will be darkness. That darkness is where evil originated from. The absence of light. That's why the book of 1 John chapter 1 verse 5 will say, this then is the message that we have heard, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Meaning God is absolute light. James will say in James 1:17, every good and perfect gift cometh from above, from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variableness, neither a shadow. There's not even a shadow in God, talk less of darkness. So darkness and shadows are an absence of the real. When you reject the real, then you are left with a vacuum. And life cannot allow you to have an empty vacuum. So what exists in that vacuum will be darkness, will be death, or will be destruction.
Okay, now I want to ask, when God created Adam and Eve, did he instruct them to eat like the wild animals, fishes of the sea, and all of that?
Oh, when God created all the animals and the herbs, he made all those things for man's pleasure.
And Adam ate all of this.
All those animals were for man's pleasure.
Now, if Adam ate animals, fishes, and all of that, and while you were speaking, you made mention of Romans, where the Bible said that sin came into the world by one man, and death too came into the world by one man. But before Adam disobeyed, he was already killing and eating wild animals. So death was already in existence before Adam disobeyed. That is the problem I'm having. I don't understand. How can I reconcile it? Because the Bible said that death came in through the disobedience of Adam.
Watch this.
But Adam was already killing.
No, but watch this. That's an assumption. Because the Bible did not tell us that Adam ate animals. What the Bible tells us in Genesis is that God gave man herbs. And those herbs were for food. Man was to till the ground and tend the ground and eat from the ground. That's what we see in Genesis. Eating of animals and all other things came after the fall. That was not in the original plan. In fact, I taught this and some people were throwing tantrums. But you know, knowledge does not bow to ignorance. It's like somebody who's lecturing university class 4 and a nursery school child just stumbles into his class and begins to shout, what are you teaching? It's nonsense. The lecturer will not answer him because this one doesn't even know what we're talking about. So I didn't answer them. God never created for rain to fall. It was not part of the plan. That's why in the book of Genesis, you will see that God has not caused it to rain because rain was not part of the plan. So how were the herbs and the agricultural products that man was going to feed on, how are they going to, be grown? So God put water in the ground. Bible says a mist was coming out of the ground to water the soil. So that agriculture, not from the sky. And then there was water in the sky, but not falling, to condition the sky to give us in the firmament, to give us a cool atmosphere. That's how God planned it. The first time you will see rain fall was judgment. And that was the judgment of Noah. And at this time, man has rejected God's plan. Man has messed up with everything. So there was chaos in the universe. So things changed. Things were no more the way they were originally in the plan of God. Just like the body of man changed, the constitution of man changed, and the outcome of man's rebellion also started coming back to man. Everything began to change around man because man was in charge of this planet. So if man is falling, everything in the planet will be affected. That's where the change came from. So that's why Adam eating animals is not in the scripture. That's our assumption, but that is not accurate.
So if eating animals was not in the original plan of God, and we are eating animals now.
As a result of the fall.
As a result of the fall. So, and we've continued.
As a result
of that misdirection.
As a result of the fall. That's why rain is still falling. And today now when rain fall, we say, oh, what a blessing. But when tsunami happened and rain fall and destroy people's house, nobody calls it blessing. Because the plan was not rainfall. Rainfall was God's alternative mercy. Since man has chosen to go this way, God cannot stop man. God will have to work with what man allows. And in his mercy, make the best possible out of what man allows to still be able to help man. That's the mercy of God in operation.
But since eating of animals is within our power, there are churches, I think Seventh-day Adventist, that doesn't eat some of these things.
Because they are functioning by the law of Moses. So under the law of Moses, Moses began to come with what we call dietary laws. Eat this, don't eat that, don't touch that. Those are part of the law of Moses, which he gave to the children of Israel on their way to the promised land, which Jesus has taken out. It was not in God's plan in Genesis, neither is it in God's plan today. Eat this, don't eat that. It's not in the plan. So Jesus now becomes the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. So Jesus has removed all that law today. So man is free to eat animals. Why? Because the earth has been affected. The nutrition that man will have gotten from the plant that God originally planned has been messed up. So man is eating everything that can be eaten together to be able to have the kind of nourishment he will require to survive. So it's like man is in survival mode as a result of the repercussion of his action in deviating from God's plan.
Now, after the fall, we've been redeemed by Christ.
Yes.
We've been forgiven by Christ.
Yes.
Why do we still suffer this affliction?
Because
the suffering, the hardship, and all of that?
This earth has not yet been fully redeemed. Just like your body has not yet been fully redeemed. That's why you still get sick. That's why you get tired. You get weak because this body has not been redeemed. So the same way this body has not been redeemed and it came from the dust of the earth. So the earth has not been redeemed. The redemption of the earth will be when this body changes. And the end of this body, heaven and earth will pass away. That will be the end of it. Then God gives us a new heaven and a new earth.
So it's not actually finished, like Christ said?
No, it has not finished. No, it is finished in that Christ context. It's finished. But we must know what was really finished on that cross. When Jesus said on the cross, it is finished, Mr. Kell, it had not even finished when he said it is finished. Because he had not even died. He was just on the cross. He has not died. He has not been buried. He has not risen. And he said it is finished. So the question will be, what was really finished on that cross? Mr. Kell, in the typology, God promised Abraham that he will give him a miracle child. And Abraham kept going barren because God was teaching Abraham the message of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus and the message of God's grace. Because in the Old Testament, God communicated to them through types and shadows. So Abraham is looking for a child. In Genesis 15, God began to say to Abraham, I'm your shield. I'm your exceeding great reward. I am this. Abraham said, God, look, stop. You've been promising me all these things. I'm no more interested. What will you give me, seeing I go childless? I have wealth. Is it my houseboy that will inherit my wealth? That's Genesis 15. God saw that the ally, because remember from Genesis after the fall, God was looking for an ally. The earth God gave to man. So God cannot come into the earth and do things without a man. So God needed an ally. Adam rejected being the ally of God to operate on the earth. And all of those men kept rejecting. So Abraham believed God, Genesis 15, and it was credited to him for righteousness. All right. Now, having believed God, Abraham began to doubt. Oh God, why will you give me this child? So God began to say, what will I do to stop Abraham from doubting? Because obviously Abraham has started doubting. So God came, God looked into Abraham's culture and saw that mortal man in Abraham's day, the only way to stop doubt was to cut a covenant. So God said to Abraham, to put end to your doubt so that you trust what I have told you as God. And since you don't know me that much, I've got to work within the means of what is available to you to convince you that what I have said about giving you a child of grace, not a child of works. Because God is teaching Abraham about the grace of Jesus, which is going to be the ultimate message of his love. So take an animal. Let's go and cut covenant. Genesis tells us that Abraham got animals, turtle doves and all that, and he went to cut covenant. Now in Abraham's day, when for example, there are farmers and there are fighters, the farmers, because of too much farming, don't have time to build skill in fighting their enemies. So when they have harvest, their enemies will come and collect all their harvest and they cannot defend themselves. Then there are fighters in a family